fans? This is the host of the Buckball Podcast, JT. I'm here with a special guest, Cory Hays from the All Things Bucs podcast. What's going on, Cory?
Not much, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited to talk about some Bucs football here. I was going to go ahead and talk about all the great things that you and your guys do, but I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor. You tell them, what you guys got coming up, maybe some of your writers, what they got going on. Maybe I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor and just go ahead and get you a little plug in. And, tell them what you got going on.
All right. So at All Things Buccaneers, we got writers. We have our podcast, of course. There's also stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Our founder is Canadian, actually. He's up in Canada.
Wow.
So, yeah, he's a Canadian Bucs fan. He said he became a Bucs fan in the early 2000s, and he's just stuck with the Bucs. So we have a few writers that put out articles weekly, myself included. I do an article every game. After the game, I'll put out an article with a recap of what goes on during the game. We have my podcast co-host, Cory, who puts out articles. We have Kevin Sloan. He does articles. Phil Schwegler is the editor behind everything, so he'll go through the articles and edit them and post them onto the website. And that's pretty much what goes on at All Things Buccaneers.
That's awesome, man. That is completely awesome. The most awesome thing about all this is, now, back when I started listening to podcasts, the people I started listening to was the Bucs Brief podcast with Chris Fisher. I started listening to Lowski and of course Derek Fournier with the old school, What the Buck, everything like that.
What the Buck. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. They inspired me to do my own. So the thing is, now there's so many Buccaneer podcasts, and I've heard some people say, like, okay, there's so many Buccaneer podcasts, like what? Like, it just seems like it's too much. I'm like, I don't think it's too much. I don't. Honestly, you know why? Because I listen to a lot of them, and it's all different opinions. It's all different points of view, and it's just great because sometimes you see things one way and another person might see it another, and it's different personalities, and it's just great. And you got to give a shout out to the Pewter cast and all them guys, but also I want to give a special shout out to John Miles for making the show possible. I've been having a lot of technical difficulties with Skype and Mixler and all that stuff. So John Miles, I want you to follow him at Siege of the Bay. That's his handle with Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that. So with all that being said, let's just go ahead and get started into the show. So when is the last time you can remember being this excited to start a Buccaneer football season?
I mean, last year we were on Hard Knocks and everything. The fan base was all hyped because we had made some quote-unquote big free agent signings. We went and did some good things in the draft, and then it all went to shit last year. But that's pretty much the last time I was excited. This year, I went in with my hopes a little bit down. Of course, I'm going to always back my team until the end. So when we came into the season 2-0 against the defending champions and a division rival who's also a Super Bowl contender, I was like, yeah, this team is definitely already improved from the team last year with the additions that we made this offseason.
Yeah, I agree, man. I completely agree. And even after that first win, and we're gonna get into it a lot. I mean, we're not just gonna talk about the Saints game because that's in the past. But even after we won that first game, I still went into the Eagles game thinking, okay, we started our first game strong the last 2 years of Dirk Clinton. This is the third year. Okay, we always start our first one strong. The second game is when we usually lay an egg, and that's what I was ready for. And whenever Fitzpatrick came out and threw that bomb to Deshaun, and it was a touchdown, I automatically knew, like, okay, this is a different team. And the thing about this team is the past two games, I mean, we've been starting ahead, starting fast, playing with the lead, and we haven't been behind, not yet. No adversity, no nothing. And another thing that you could say is a plus, we haven't even seen this team at its full health yet. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, definitely. We have not at all. Still
if
missing Vita Vea, which hopefully he will be back this week for the Monday Night Football game. But if not, I believe that we'll see him back after the bye week so that that calf can fully heal. Then we also have Brent Grimes, who's missed the first 2 games with a groin injury. Groin injuries tend to linger, so we're not sure how long he's going to be out.
and it's
VH3 got hurt in the first week, and he's out for the year, so we had some people step in for him, and I was pretty impressed with the way they played. Like you said, yeah, we're not even fully healthy yet. We don't know what we can do as a fully healthy unit.
right. Yep. That is very true. And another thing is, going back to when you said Hard Knocks, you know, everybody was excited for Hard Knocks. They were the darling of the NFL. Like, just because we went, 9-7 the last year and we had this great ass year and whatever. That's all fine and dandy, and then you go ahead and get all this talent in the draft and free agency, blah blah blah. Well, you know what? The catalyst this year is the O line. I mean, this is the same team from last year, pretty much, besides the rookies in the secondary, and we haven't seen Vay or anybody else play or Ronald Jones, and this is the same team. But if you look at it, the O line this year, and then you think about it from last year, there wasn't a lot of time to make these throws. There
Yeah,
was. You think about
definitely.
exactly the same team from last year. This is what we and the national media and everybody was expecting, and it never came to fruition. Now the O line this year is going to be the catalyst. So let's just go ahead and dive into the Eagles game right here. And I'm gonna break this down to you. I kind of want to start quarterbacks to O line to running backs to wide receivers, tight end, D line, all that. I want to go down the line and let's just break it down that way, how this game played out. So first off, let's just talk about Fitzpatrick. The outfit that he wore to that press conference is money. I love that. That is awesome. That goes to show you that he is feeling it. The team's feeling it. They're having fun, and that is a sign of a good football team.
Yeah, definitely. He came out with Deshaun Jackson's clothes on at the press conference. Everybody was like, "Did you get that from Gerald?" And he was like, "No, that's Deshaun's." Deshaun ended up showing up in the press conference with no shirt on. That was pretty funny. So
Yeah,
yeah,
my
the national media took the hype too of that press conference, which was actually hilarious.
Yeah, my favorite line was when I don't know who it was in the media asked, but is anything that you're wearing yours? And he said, just the chest hair. That was like, okay, this is awesome. I mean, I'm here for the ride, dude. I just haven't been this excited to be on to the third game in the season in a long time. So now that we're talking about Fitzpatrick, let's just go ahead and get into the him and Jameis debate, which I think is completely stupid, for a couple of reasons. So, of course, Fitzpatrick is the hot hand right now. Like he's playing out of his mind, and I think a lot of it is attributed to the O line. And I honestly think that him and Jameis both could thrive in this O line. If you look at the preseason, and a lot of people would try to say like, okay, it's just the preseason, whatever.
Preseason doesn't mean anything. Yeah.
That's not true. That's not true at all because if you look at the preseason last year when the Bucs were in Hard Knocks, the Bucs offense was not as hot as it was this preseason. I mean, Jameis is making accurate throws, deep ball throws with touch and accuracy, and that is a telling thing because the year before it just wasn't happening, and everybody was like, "Okay,
Hmm.
it's season they're not scoring that much. The season will come around and that will change," and it didn't. So, for if it's me, if it's just me thinking, and I'm sure a lot of people think the same way, I think Jameis and Fitzpatrick are benefiting from this O line this year, and it's not even just that; it's the play calling. It's not just the fact that Fitzpatrick's making all these throws. I mean, you can't take away any credit from him. He gets all of it for making these throws and everything like that. But at the same time, James was doing the same thing in the preseason. I think he's a different player.
Yeah, you definitely have the same mindset that I have. It all starts with those front five. And the addition of Ryan Jensen this offseason was huge because it moved Ali Marpet back to his natural position of guard. So we went with a more nasty offensive line, which has in turn giving our quarterback more time to throw, which is in turn giving our receivers more time to run their route, which is in turn turned into more touchdowns in the first two games. Like you said, Fitzpatrick is the hot hand right now, but I also believe Jameis could do the same thing behind this offensive line as we saw in preseason. He just looked more confident and more poised standing behind them.
Right. And also you have to think, now a lot of people are saying like we're gonna go forward, but we're gonna come back after the Steelers game, no matter what happens. If we win or lose, a lot of people are saying is like, okay, you can't take Fitzpatrick out because of what he's done. At the same time, even if he goes out and loses to the Steelers, I don't think you bring Jameis back for the Chicago game, just for the simple fact that as well as this offense has done, Jameis
It's a
is
short week.
yes, it's a short week. So my thinking is, and I'm sure a lot of logical, educated Bucs fans are thinking the same thing. Why don't you let Jameis stay out Chicago game? That way, okay, so we're gonna play the Steelers on Monday night. On Tuesday, Jameis is gonna be allowed to be back with the team. So that
Mm-hmm.
whole leading up to the Bears game, Jameis is gonna be in practice with his team, studying film. Then you're gonna go ahead and go to the next week. It's going to go to the bye, and you're going to have Jameis basically with almost 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks of preparation to be able to come.
Preparation for a game to play. Exactly. That's the
Yeah,
thing. I've been saying it all along. I think if we do bring him back, which that's no question, this season he will be back. I think that we see him week 6 against Atlanta because he has more time with his teammates to prepare and study film and get chemistry down that they had in preseason that he's missed the first 3 weeks being out.
right. And that's not even just okay. Fitzpatrick played in against the Steelers or against the Bears or whatever. You know what I mean? That's just a logical thing to do. You don't just throw somebody back in. I mean, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So I want to go ahead and say one thing real quick. So I was looking up at next gen stats because I'm kind of a stats nerd. I love looking at because stats do have context. They do tell us to what you're watching on film. I mean, you should go ahead and watch a game on Game Pass, then watch the stats, then rewatch the game again to confirm what you're looking at. But I'm gonna go ahead and tell you something right here. So next gen stats says Ryan Fitzpatrick has had like 2.56 seconds to throw the football. And that stat is usually, or that time is usually a stat for mobile quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that, Ryan Fitzpatrick is not the most mobile quarterback in the world. That means that he's had time to sit back there and dissect a play and receivers get open.
Yeah, that's definitely what it means. He's standing back there. You said 2.56, correct?
Yep.
So yeah, he's standing back there for 2.5 seconds, pretty much surveying the field to see where he wants to throw the ball. Do you have a comparison to what last year's is, or is that just what you have right now?
That's what I have right now. And I know I mean I'm not gonna say off the top of my head I know exactly what the number is. But last year, just knowing that I watched all 16 games, I probably watched each game 2 or 3 times, just for the show's sake. It wasn't close to that. There was pressure coming all kinds of ways, and the pressure was causing all kinds of different throws.
Yeah, we definitely saw it each and every week. We saw that Jameis would have to get the ball out, or he'd be flustered out of the pocket within 1.25 seconds because our O line was banged up, or we didn't have the depth. So he was playing with second stringers, third stringers. So we
Mhm.
saw it last year. We saw that he was running for his life pretty much his first 3 seasons in Tampa, and now we brought in Ryan Jensen, like we touched on earlier, and it just brings more of a nastiness to where defenders cannot get between the trenches to come after our quarterback.
Right. Yeah, and I just it's fun to actually be able to talk to a sensible, educated Bucks fan who is okay with looking into the numbers instead of saying like the people I work with, like, oh, just Jameis just sucks. And I'm not gonna lie, I can't defend him too much because Jameis does try to do too much. But at the same time, imagine what he could do if he had time. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
before we go past quarterbacks here, I'm gonna go ahead and bring up another stat to you. So the Bucks have 11 plays of 20 plus yards already. If you average that out through 16 games, that's Hold on one second here. Let me see this. 11 plays already. Yeah, that's 88 plays. If you went ahead and just average that out, how the offense has done the first two games, they're going to have almost 88 plays of 20 plus.
Explosive plays. Yeah, that's an insane stat right there.
Yep. And if you think about it, they only had 6 plays 40 plus all of 2017.
Yeah.
Yep. So let's go ahead and hop on to the O line. So, well, we're going to add in the O line and the running backs because they kind of go hand in hand. So we're averaging 28 rushes a game right now against the Saints. They're not the best D line in the world, but I mean they still did well enough last year to make it to the playoffs. But we're averaging 28 rushes a game, and the Eagles are one of the best D lines in football. So I mean that was expected that we weren't going to get as many rushing yards as we thought versus the Eagles. Even though I thought when they did run the ball towards the beginning of the game, they got the yardage they needed just in order to keep it balanced. But towards the end, I thought Monken got a little conservative.
Exactly.
Was just running the ball just to preserve the lead.
And the defense knew what was coming, so that's what leads to low rushing yards because the defense knows exactly what you're going to do.
Exactly. So if you look at that in the vacuum, then that's fine. And we had success against the Saints when we ran the ball. It's just that the fact that through the air we were getting so many yards and points that we didn't have to run the ball as much. So, I mean, for me, even going back to last year, balance is key. Last year, our pass rush percentage, the Bucs were at 7 to 33. Now you have to, given the fact that there was pressure throwing and running a lot, and being behind. I mean, either way, that isn't a key to success.
Yeah, like you said, we'd be playing from behind, so we'd have to throw the ball more and more. This season, we're playing ahead, but we're still throwing the ball because the passing attack is working. Like you said, you like balance. I believe balance is key because it keeps the defense on their toes. They're not going to know exactly what you're throwing at them. But if the passing attack is working, then there's really no need to run the ball unless need be towards the goal line or something.
Right. Yep. I agree. I definitely agree. And now given we haven't even seen Ronald Jones in this game yet. Peyton Barber, even if he does get a hole, unless it's cleared running lane, he's not going to take it 40, 50 yards. But he's been falling forwards and getting us 4 or 5 yards at a time, 10 yards at a time, even to 15. We haven't even seen the effect that Ronald Jones can have if he gets a lane like Peyton Barber has gotten, where he's running 10 yards. If Ronald Jones gets those kind of lanes, he's taking it to the house. And we haven't even seen that yet. And that goes back to me saying we haven't even seen this Bucs offense. That's scary to say. We haven't even seen this Bucs offense at its best that it can be yet.
Yeah, touching on Ronald Jones, I don't believe that we're going to see him until we get healthy at other positions because he's not a contributor on special teams. But when we do see him, we saw it in the preseason, we can flank him out wide or in the slot, and he can go and catch the ball and do some damage through the air. As for Peyton Barber is helping out the O-line in the pass protection. I've been very impressed with his pass pro because they do blitzes. You saw it the first play of the game to Deshaun Jackson. Peyton Barber picked up the corner blitz perfectly, which gave Fitzpatrick enough time to throw it deep to Deshaun for that touchdown.
Yep, him and Jacquizz Rodgers have both been very good in pass protection. And it's funny because Jacquizz Rodgers is like 5'5", 5'6".
He's so small, but he's very good in pass pro.
Exactly. I mean, he's taking players' knees out. Yeah, I'm just excited to see that this offense isn't even at its full potential yet. That's just what I'm most excited to see. I mean, I just can't wait until the day finally comes. You know what I mean? So
to see it at its full strength. Yes, correct.
So we're gonna move on to wide receivers here. I mean, besides the Mike Evans fumble, which we were in Eagles territory on that, and then the OJ drop that was pretty much an interception. I mean, you don't have much to bitch about here. I mean, this is the best wide receiver corps in the league. I don't care what anybody says. I watch football as much as anybody. I mean, a lot of people say Kansas City. A lot of people say the Steelers. I mean, no, there's no way. Because you know why? You know why I think that's complete BS is because even after all these points we've scored and all these yards we've accumulated, you haven't even seen Cameron Brate and Adam Humphries right now.
At all. I think Adam Humphries has 3 targets total, and Cameron Brate has not even been targeted by Ryan Fitzpatrick because of everything else that's been going on with our receivers. The top 3 receivers and then O.J. Howard have been producing, so there's really been no need to throw to Cameron Brate.
Right. And that's going to come in handy later on in the season because guess what? O.J. Howard, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson, they're not always going to have the best games. And
No.
you know what? That's going to be the time where you're going to be, let's just move on a little bit to the Steelers. The Steelers are going to do everything they can to take away, OJ, Mike, Chris, Djax. They're going to do everything they can to take them away. And we're going to hit them with an okey doke. And Adam Humphries is going to be in the slot, taking it somewhere to the house. Cam Brade's going to be making some red zone touchdown. We haven't even seen this offense at its full potential yet. And that's what I love is because we still have 2 weapons that have produced on this team. And
not even do anything this year, yeah.
Not even do anything yet. And that speaks to the depth that Jason Light has got us. So look at this. Djax has 9 targets this season, 9 catches for 275 yards. He's leading the league in receiving yards.
Mm-hmm.
And thing is, he said he had like a little interview today or something, and he was talking about, look, even if Jameis is ready to come back, you do not take out the hot hand in Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I agree with him on that. So what do you think about him saying that? A lot of people are saying like, oh, he doesn't want Jameis in because Jameis hasn't been able to get him the ball, but that's not the case because in preseason he got it to him multiple times.
My thoughts on what Deshaun Jackson went on and said on NFL Network, I think that he's playing it up to the point where his stats are coming up right now. He has the chemistry with Fitzpatrick because Fitzpatrick in the training camp and off season was working as the number 1 quarterback while Jameis was taking very little snaps with the ones. So right now he's got the chemistry with Ryan Fitzpatrick, but I believe that when he gets more snaps with Jameis, that chemistry will be there as well. We ride the hot hand right now, yes, but in the long run, we're going to end up going to Jameis.
Yep, very true. And you also have to remember, and I've said this to people too, Jameis's deep ball with Mike Evans because he was the only real receiver that we had. Jameis's ball to Mike Evans the first year was horrible. And the second year, he improved drastically. So there's no reason to believe that a second year with Deshaun Jackson wouldn't improve.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and move on here to the D-line. 3 sacks. I mean, pressure all game. Foles is dirty, or Foles' jersey was pretty dirty all game. Now, out of 32 dropbacks, he was sacked 3 times and hit 12. That's pressure we haven't seen here in a while.
No, we never really got quarterback hurries last year. We were dead last in D-line and sacks. So with that, like you said, 3 sacks, 12 hurries, that's very impressive from this unit. And they're not even at full strength yet. We have barely seen Noah Spence this year. Vita Vea is coming back. We have rotation. We're 10-11 deep at the D-line right now. So if we get fully healthy and everybody gets a run, they're scary right now.
Yes, very scary, especially considering the fact that we haven't even seen 2 of the players that we expected to be big contributors. And everyone was freaking out against the Saints game. It's like, oh my God, we only got 1 sack and blah blah blah. But I was saying, I was going into the game thinking, even with all these additions to the D line, and even if Vita Vea was out or not, I didn't expect a lot of sacks on Drew Brees. All I wanted was to get him out of his rhythm, to get him off his mark. And, we only had 1 sack, and everyone was freaking out about that. And it was like, oh, you guys brought in all these players and blah, blah, blah. And you still didn't, I guess everyone's just so enamored with sacks. It's not just about sacks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's more about the impact that they're having, the pressures, the hurries. The sacks may not be there, but if you're forcing the quarterback to step up in the pocket and make a quick throw, then you're making an impact in the game.
Yeah, not even just that. Drew Brees gets the ball out faster than anyone in the league. He knows by the time he snaps that ball where he's going with that ball. So now let's talk about Spence. Noah Spence was a healthy scratch, and I've seen a couple things where it's okay, he doesn't do special teams and things like that. But honestly, I mean, the tape doesn't lie right now. Noah Spence was not doing anything against second, third string guys who probably aren't going to be in this league in preseason. Carl Nassib comes in and he's getting pressure. He's forcing the quarterback to roll at the pocket. I mean, he almost got a sack on Drew Brees his first game with the Bucs, with not even really knowing the defense or anything like that. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
On Noah Spence,
Yes.
Noah Spence, he's had a lot of hype. He was our second round pick, and he got injured twice. I think that his ceiling is still there. He's still learning because pretty much he lost 2 seasons due to injury. He's a athletic freak, like you said. The tape didn't lie. He wasn't very impressive in preseason, but as the season goes on, I believe that he's going to continue to get the game down, and it's all a mental game with him. They said that he found out on Friday that he was going to be a healthy scratch, and he took it. He took it well, and he asked Dirk Cutter how he's going to be able to help the guy since he's not playing, which shows a sign of maturity. I think that throughout the season, we'll see Noah Spence improve and get more playing time instead of being a healthy scratch. But it all depends. Like I said, it all depends on the mind game, how he takes it in practice.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I do think that Carl Nassib coming in and taking a lot of snaps. I mean, by a lot, I mean for someone who just came into this offense or someone who just came to this team. I do think that says something, but I still think that you can't just get rid of him. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, JPP is an older player. He could still get hurt. I mean, even with Carl Nassib and everything like that, we don't have even with Will Clark. You know what I mean? He can still contribute to this team, and even if he only gets 30 snaps a game, maybe 20. I mean, he's quick enough off the edge to make a difference. I mean, I'm not
Hmm.
going to put him in on 33. I mean, I honestly think Carl Nassib is better in running situations, but when your defense is gassed and it's first and 10, second and 9, whatever, you can still bring him in and he can still make a big impact. He can still get 6 or 7 sacks for us, and that could be a game changer. I mean, you don't
Yeah,
need him to play all game long. That's the whole point of having this rotation of the D line, which is what the Bucs are trying to do, basically copying the Eagles.
yeah. Keep everybody warmed up. Keep everybody to where they're not gassed, like within the humidity and everything. We've seen it. We saw a little bit in the Eagles game because our offense was scoring so fast with two explosive plays. The defense was getting a little tired, and that's where the depth comes in right there.
Yeah, and not only that, it's not going to be until I believe week 10 that we can start flexing games to night games. So, so you're going to want to keep Noah Spence because we're going to play a lot of 1 o'clock games until that time. So let's just go ahead and move on to the linebackers, which is my favorite position on the team. Um, Levante David and Quan are going to have a Pro Bowl year. I'm just going to go ahead and call it. And a Darius Taylor, who I went to high school with down here in Lakeland. And then
Very
when
nice.
Kendall Beckwith gets back, it's gonna be a fun season to watch for my linebackers. I've already said millions of times, Levante David's my favorite player on the Buccaneers, has been for a long time. He does not get the respect he deserves, and it's because this team has not been winning. Now, once
Hmm.
we start winning, he's finna get the respect he deserves. And that's not to say that Quan isn't going to get the respect he deserves. Everybody knows once you're the middle linebacker of a team, you're going to get more publicity because you're the quarterback of the defense and everything like that. Now, I did a whole podcast on Quan Alexander, and I've said it from the beginning of that podcast to the end, he starts slow and he finishes so strong. This game against the Eagles, he did not start slow. He did not start slow. And as a matter of fact, that sack on Nick Foles was the second fastest sack in terms of time in the NFL that week. Now, the Bucs might have got a break because it looked kind of like Foles' arm was coming forwards. But I mean, then again, you know, it's the home team. Maybe we got one there, whatever. Either way, you still can't take away from the awesome play that he made.
Yeah, he definitely made a great play going up the right side of the line and going in and hitting Nick Foles. Like you said, Levante David and Quan Alexander are both playmakers. Um, Not being biased or anything, I believe that we have the best duo of linebackers in the NFL in terms of speed, in terms of awareness, and in terms of skill,
And
because
play.
both of them are very capable of getting 100 plus tackles in a season,
Mhm.
and that's what the people look at when it comes to All Pro and Pro Bowl. So both of them can easily get 100 tackles this season if they stay healthy.
Yes, and I agree. And last year the whole big thing was with our D line being so shorthanded and Gerald being pretty much the only guy making any impact. Mike Smith was having to dial up blitzes with his linebackers that probably he didn't have to make, but felt like he pretty much had to just to be able to get pressure. And it didn't work out in our favor because every team knew it was coming. They're not getting
Mm-hmm.
pressure. So they got to blitz the linebackers. So we're going to hit them underneath. This year, our linebackers are able to sit back in coverage, blitz surprisingly instead of out of necessity. And I think that's going to be a big, big, big impact. I mean, Quan Alexander has already had 2 forced fumbles this season and 1 sack. Levante David had 5 last year. There's no reason to think that he's not going to get even close to that this year. And not only that, you haven't even brought up the fact that they can still cover.
Mm-hmm. They definitely can cover.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the defensive backs. Obviously, this game, it's rookies all over the place against the champs. I mean, given no Alshon Jeffrey and things like that, my favorite player in this defensive backfield altogether completely, and I didn't expect it to be, is Justin Evans. It might just be because I did a podcast on him and I pretty much watched 4 games of him that I pretty much broke down on the podcast, but I watched way more than that. Just going back. Justin Evans is having a Pro Bowl year already, in my opinion. He's all over the field. And the fact that the Bucs are winning, the national media is going to pick up on it. I mean, he's my favorite player in the secondary so far. And it's a shame that Vernon Hargreaves got hurt because before last year, before he got hurt last year, he was coming on so strong. He was playing so well. And of course, nobody can deny that Vernon Hargreaves hasn't took his lumps in this league. But this year he stepped it up. He's been more of a leader. He's been more vocal. He's been talking to the rookies and everything like that. He made multiple impacts in that Saints game, and now he's out. So now we're talking about MJ Stewart in the slot, Carlton Davis on the outside, and Ryan Smith on the outside. Who had the best game of his career? I mean, props to Ryan Smith. You went against the Super Bowl champs, and you only allowed, I think it was 1 target that he gave
Mm-hmm.
up. I look at the stat again. He played out of his mind. Chris Conti had to go out for a play. Jordan Whitehead came in. I don't know if you remember the play, but Jordan Whitehead came in and smacked the running back. I mean, he laid the wood. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited about this young secondary, and I think just like the Bucs think they have a quarterback controversy, I think the Bucs have a cornerback controversy, bringing back Brent Grimes to compete with these rookies.
Yeah, definitely. The cornerbacks, the rookie guys, got thrown into the second game, and it showed what was going to happen. Yeah, everybody was like, "Oh boy, we got Ryan Smith starting on the outside with Carlton Davis and MJ Stewart in the nickel," but they came to play. We gave up 7 points to the Eagles through 3 quarters, and that's
Yep.
very impressive. They're Super Bowl champions, and we only gave up 7 points to them through 3 quarters with rookies playing. And like you said, Chris Conte went out and Jordan Whitehead came in and laid the boom. I believe that the future is bright with our guys in secondary. And it looked like Mike Smith was having our guys play press coverage a lot more this game than he did against New Orleans. So I was impressed with the young guys.
Yep, and I've given Mike Smith his shit too. You know what I mean? But then again, you have to think he's having his guys play off, and even with Ryan Smith and Vernon Hargraves, he said that he gives his cornerbacks the liberty to decide how far you want to play off and things like that. But they haven't played with a D line like this yet, so I think the jury is still out on how well they could play. But one thing I want to mention, so MJ Stewart, he played okay, but he every time that he was targeted, which was 10, there was 10 balls caught on him. So obviously he has a lot of work to do. But I want to bring up that fourth down play where the Eagles pretty much scored their 21st point. That Foles touchdown was a thing of beauty. I mean, obviously the receiver caught the ball well in the back of the end zone. Nick Foles threw a perfect touch pass. Carlton Davis missed that ball by inches. That could have swung the game very easily.
Yeah, he definitely mistimed his jump on that. I think if somebody were to try that again later on in the season, that it wouldn't work. Like you said, Nick Foles put a pretty touch on it to where pretty much only Aguilar could get a hand on it. But if Carlton Davis does not mistime his jump, he probably swats that ball down or he picks it off and the game is over right there.
Yeah, and that was actually a very heads up play by Carlton Davis because he pretty much left his man alone once he seen where the play was going, where the ball was going. And yeah, he missed it by inches. So I mean, all in all, that brings us pretty much towards the end of the game. I still am in shock that we're at 2-0. I honestly thought that we would be maybe 1-1. I mean, I honestly thought that the Saints game would be the one that we would win, not the Eagles one. But I mean, nobody expected us to put up 48 points on the Saints. So who knows what happens. But I do want to get into one more thing before we end the show here. Kind of breaking news on the podcast, which was it's not really breaking news because surprise, surprise, we all kind of knew it was coming. The Uber driver that Jameis supposedly groped is now suing him basically for damages and things like that. I mean, did you see this coming, or is this like out of the blue, or did we all kind of know what was happening?
Um, Pretty much knew it was coming when she hired the same lawyer that Klinsman had in Tallahassee. It's a money grab with the lawyer. The lawyer wants money, so that's what's going to happen. There's no proof to either one of them. So when Jameis settled for a 3-game suspension, Kate P and her lawyer released a statement saying that they wish to get over it. But it feels like now that Jameis is back in the news with Fitzpatrick playing so well and people saying what's going to happen with Jameis, this is the perfect time for them to drop a lawsuit, and that's what happened.
Yeah, and it's funny because I just obviously none of us know Jameis as a person because we're just kind of fringe media and we basically get all our information from someone else. We're not right next to him. But I've watched him since he was at Florida State. I know he's a good person. I just know that sometimes he makes bonehead decisions on the field and who he puts himself around. Now, this happened in 2016. He said he's cut alcohol out of his life since then, and everything like that. And of course, something like this happens, and then what do you know? It's coming up to where it's a lawsuit. Lawsuit. It means money. That just makes it look like okay, you can't really say what happened in that Uber, but now you're looking at it like public perception. Jameis gets
Is it a money grab, pretty much, is what people are looking at.
yeah, Jameis gets accused at his university. Now he's getting accused as a professional athlete. Couple years later, and it just looks bad. I mean, I'm not going to say that she's making anything up because none of us really know.
No, nobody knows what happened, so we can't really
But
say, no, you're a liar. But at the same time, it looks bad when you're coming for money with a lawsuit after you said, oh, I'm going to let this go, and it's not about the money.
right, right? If you are truly a victim, then that I'm not saying what I think because I can't do it personally, like just on show's sake. But from the way it looks, if you're a victim, then you basically like, okay, this guy did this to me. I want to publicly drag him through the mud, and then I want everybody to know who he really is, and that's going to be the end of it. But now that there's money involved, it makes it look like we're going through the Erica Kinsman all over again, and it's just sad to even think about it like that. But because there might be a victim involved, there might not be. But the fact that there's money involved now, it brings your mind to it, and it's unfortunate that it has to be that way.
Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate that it brings a bad perception to it because there's definitely a lot of people out there who have gone through bad situations with sexual assault, and they've come out and they were telling the truth, but they've been called liars.
Right.
But like you said, there's really no evidence. Nobody really knows what happened in Uber. There was no cameras, no witnesses, so nobody really knows. So you can't really take a side here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big time Bucs fan, big time Jameis fan. I'm not going to take his side. I'm not going to say he's innocent or guilty. I'm just going to say it does look bad when you're dropping a lawsuit when you said you weren't going to in the first place.
Right. Yep. And that's the most unfortunate part about it is because now she is probably she's most likely going to end up getting paid no matter what. So it just makes you think, okay, I can't take no one's side, but just the way it looks, you know what I mean? It looks like a payday. So it's unfortunate, man. We're gonna see it play out and it's gonna happen, you know what I mean? So before we end the show, I want to go over a couple things. I'm gonna do like a little Twitter segment here. I kind of go through the day and I take pictures of things, screenshots, just kind of have something to talk about, during the game. And this, I'm going to end it on this. So there was an NFL Power Rankings that was released today, and I think it was I think it was by CBS. I think so. So they basically have 1 through 10 power rankings in the NFL right now. The Bucs are 2-0. Just go ahead and put that in your mind. The Bucs are not on this top 10 of NFL power rankings. As a matter of fact, number 10 on this power rankings is the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 0-1-1. Where is the respect for the Bucs on this, man?
We're never going to get respect from the national media, and when we do, it's all hype. I went through it this morning. That there's a few that have us in the top 10. ESPN has us barely on the outside at 11. NFL.com has us at 7. USA Today has us at 6. So Yahoo Sports, I believe, has us at 9. Yahoo Sports also posted in theirs about the Jamison Fitzpatrick issue, and they said that Jameis would pretty much have the same success that Fitzpatrick had with this team and these weapons, which I agree with. Yeah,
Okay.
like you said,
Yeah,
where's the respect?
mind on.
Where's the respect? They're never going to give us respect because for the past 10, 11 years we've been down and out. They're going to give the respect to the people that they've always gone after, the big times, the Patriots, the Eagles, the Steelers, the Giants, the Cowboys, all their favorite teams. They're not going to give respect to us because we've been in the bottom of the league for many years.
Right. Yep. That's absolutely correct. And I'm not sitting here demanding respect at all. I'm not going to go out and say put the Bucs number 1 because we haven't earned nothing yet. It's only September. What is the old football saying? Football isn't played until October. You know what I mean?
October.
It doesn't mean anything except for if you're like 1-3, then it definitely means something because you're not doing something right. But as long as you're doing good in September, then you need to get a little bit of recognition. But October is where you're going to get your respect. So we're going to talk to the national media and the experts in October when we truly deserve respect. But hey, man,
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on the show. It was awesome doing it with you. Doing the show with you. Sorry, it sounded weird. but for real, like I enjoyed talking to you, man. I can't wait to do this again. Hopefully, we can do a show after the Steelers game, maybe before the Steelers game. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But
Yeah, I definitely appreciate you having me on. It's always good to talk Bucks football with fellow fans and people who know Bucks football. I love it.
yeah, I agree, man. There's so many uneducated people. Like at work, it's hard to hold an argument because I want to bring up so many stats and I want to say like, okay, like talk to people that are like, oh, the Bucks just suck. And it's like, well, if you bring up some stats, they're like nerd. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, well, you have no water in your argument. I mean, all you know is what the media is telling you and everything like that. So it's nice to be able to talk to actual Bucks fans who pay attention, they're educated, and things like that. And it's just great, man. I love I love the podcast community. Even though there's a lot of us and some of us are more successful than others, it doesn't matter, man. Everybody has a different opinion, and I just love to hear from all different platforms.
Mhm. Correct. I love it.
All right, buddy. Well, that's gonna do it today for the Buckball podcast episode with Cory Hays from All Things Bucks. Is there anything you need to say before we go ahead and shut it down, man?
That's all. I just want to say thank you for having me on. Thanks to your listeners for listening in. Let's do it again sometime.
All right, buddy. Well, I'm gonna talk to you later. All right.
All right. Have a good one. Appreciate it. Go Bucks.
Yes, sir.